welcome back to the Start Simple podcast. It is me, as ever, Andy. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening. Today, we are back to basics. As you're going to see with these new episodes of the podcast, I am going to go over a lot of areas that maybe I've covered before, maybe give you a new perspective of them, and go a little bit back to basics, to be honest. I covered this on the last episode, but ultimately, I've been doing this job now. I've been coaching people for 6 years. That's scary. For 6 years, okay, at the time of recording this. Depending when you're listening to it, could be even longer. But in that 6 years, I've learned so much. I think if I was to look back at when I started, it's quite funny, really. I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think you know everything at the start, and then the further and further you go in, you learn that you know nothing before you actually start to learn things. And I think I'm slowly on my upward curve now. I started off thinking I knew it all, then I realised I knew nothing. I think I'm starting to get there. Who knows? Maybe in 5 years' time I'll record another podcast and say, no, you were still at the bottom, mate. But I think within that time, I have learned a lot. And I think also I've learned a lot in my approach, and I've learned a lot about what helps you the best. Because ultimately that's what I'm here to do, is to give you the best advice, the most practical advice, and give you the direction that you need to actually get results. That's my whole responsibility. It's not to try and say things that you think, wow, that's a really smart word. Irrelevant. My job is to give you the information in language that you understand to make it applicable to your life. And that's what this entire episode is going to be in relation to your diet, to your nutrition, and to your fat loss. And I think that's where I used to go wrong in definitely my first year or so. If I look back at some of the things that I said or tried to do with people, like, I did it to sound clever. That's the honest truth. I did it to sound clever and to, maybe there's a bit of ego in there, right? And then throughout that period, I then went through, I realised that's not useful. It's not what's going to help people. And started to learn more about mindset and around empathy and about actually applying this stuff to real life. And then I went through that stage and I realised, okay, well, yeah, there's got to be a big focus on mindset, and there has got to be an empathetic approach and an understanding approach, and realising that you need to be treated as an individual and that this stuff isn't easy. But there also has to be direction. There has to be accountability. There has to be a kick up the arse sometimes. There has to be a drive. I make no secret of this, right? I used to be overweight. When I was overweight, I can tell you for a fact now, I was lazy and I didn't have drive. And that is what I try and put into people, and realising that, that kick up the arse doesn't have to be an angry person shouting in your face and, this stereotypical gym head. But at the same time, it can come from a place of empathy. That push can come from a place of actually caring, not just from me, but from you caring about yourself. So that's where we're at now. That's where we're at now, and I think I've got to a place with this stuff where I bring in both sides of that, and I combine them both to hopefully give you the best advice and to give my clients the best advice. So, because this is the thing, right? You don't need me to tell you protein is good. Eat more fruit and veg. Nobody's asked, mate. We all know that stuff. You don't need a new diet, but your approach to that diet is what you might need to change, okay? So, a couple of things we're going to cover. We're going to be talking about why you're struggling, what it is at the moment that you're finding difficult. A lot of the time people, no offense, think they know what that is. You are more than often wrong. We're going to go back to basics a little bit with nutrition. We're going to talk about those mindset shifts. I'm also going to give you an idea of some of the things that, one, I see happen for my clients that makes a massive difference, and then two, things that maybe you don't do at the moment, but things you can go away and implement and put into your own nutrition, into your own diet, into your own day-to-day life that will actually make a difference, right? I think advice like me just sitting there and going, yeah, track your calories, mate, and eat 20 grams of protein a day. Boring. Also, eat a lot more than 20 grams of protein a day. But it's not helpful to you. But what we are going to do is look at, okay, well, how can we make these things more efficient and fit to what you're doing day to day? If you are watching on YouTube, firstly, thank you. Secondly, subscribe. Thirdly, like. Fourthly, comment. Fifthly, don't have a fifth, but thanks for watching. And if you see me looking over this way, it's because that's where my notes are. So, why do you struggle with fat loss? Well, first and foremost, and I know this should be obvious, you eat more than you realise. And I say that like slightly jokingly, but actually that is pretty much shown in every study. No, not pretty much. That's shown in studies consistently with fat loss, right? Is people eat more calories than they realise. When it comes to tracking calories, they underreport. I hear the phrase, I eat 1,200 calories and don't lose weight. No, you eat 1,200 calories for 3 days. You're not doing it for the other 4 days. You underestimate how many calories you eat. I'd probably do that. There's dietitians who do that. There is hundreds and hundreds of people across the world do that every single day. Thousands of people, right? You're one of them. When you accept that, you accept you have something to work on. The amount of times I have somebody come to me and they say, don't know why I'm not losing weight. And I think my metabolism's broke. I try this 1,200 calories and I try tracking, it doesn't work. And then what happens is it's almost like an onion, right? We start to unpeel that and we notice that, tracking's dropping off at the weekend. Okay, cool. What's going on there? And then we notice, actually, when you're having a week tracked, you're not completely accurate with your measurements. And then we notice, do you know what? Whenever you're not tracking, it's always triggered on a Thursday. What's happening on Thursdays? And what can start to happen is we start to look for the root causes. There is usually a cause underlying why you aren't consistent. There is usually a trigger, whether that is stress, whether it is work, whether it is alcohol, whether it is lack of sleep, whether it is changes to your routine. We have to understand what the cause is. The fact that you don't track your calories and hit your calories, that's the outcome of an underlying cause. That is why you struggle, all right? Things like, I need more motivation. I need more discipline. Discipline, I agree with a tiny bit more. But they're not the things. They're feelings. I personally do feel quite disciplined, right? But that doesn't happen because I'm not magic. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not different to you watching this, right? I still have days where I don't feel disciplined. I still have days where I'd say I never have bloody motivation. However, what I do have is structure. I have a very, very strict structure that, to be honest, and I probably will do an updated ADHD episode because I think the first time I did an episode on my ADHD was when I'd just been diagnosed and I was learning a lot about it. My opinion of my own ADHD and the way I manage it now is very different. However, I work with it and I work really fucking hard to work with it, right? I know that the traits that I struggle with my ADHD are this what's just happened now where I completely forget the words in my head is actually one of them. But I know I struggle to stick to routines. I know that I get bored very easily. I know that I struggle with structure. I struggle with focus. All of these different areas, right? I get in my own head. Sometimes I can have that day where I just can't physically get on the sofa. It's really hard, right? It is. Again, I'm going to do a different episode on this. However, I also know what my triggers are for that. I know alcohol is a trigger for me. I know lack of sleep is a trigger for me. I know changes to my actual day-to-day routine in terms of, specifically for me, my morning routine of getting up and getting outdoors is a trigger for me. I know if I don't get up early in the morning and get, whether it's a walk, whether it's a gym session, a run, a form of movement in, I have a worse day. I know that. It's a fact, right? I've experienced it enough. It completely throws me out of loop. It's not good for my routine. I know that if I consume alcohol, and I don't not drink, by the way, I still include alcohol within my life, but just nowhere near as much as what I used to. But I know for a fact that if I have alcohol, and I'm not saying like go and get pissed up on a night out, I'm talking a couple of pints on a Thursday night could do this. I don't know why I said a Thursday night. It's because it's Thursday today. I'm not drinking today. Gone off topic, high ADHD. But I'm talking a couple of pints alone could do this to me. It completely negatively impacts my ability to structure, to routine. It impacts my ability to think straight with my ADHD. I know that if I don't go to sleep when I normally go to sleep and wake up when I normally wake up, again, it really knocks me off track. Sorry, I've gone off on a real ADHD-based tangent here, but I'm going to stick with my point. My point is that I work so hard to keep the structure in place for those things because I know the way it impacts me without it. This is the same as you saying, I need motivation, I need discipline, I need to just want to enjoy the gym a bit more. No, you don't. You need to put structure in your life that you stick to and find what works and understand what doesn't. And that's the most important thing, because most of you know what doesn't. Most of you know that your weekends are your downfall, yet still you don't plan for your weekends. Most of you know that a shit day at work leads you to go into smashing a load of dominoes, but you don't have food in or prepare for that and be ready for it. Most of you know that 1,200 calories leads you to wanting to eat an entire Chinese takeaway buffet, right? But you'll still try and eat 1,200 calories. If you know what is not helping you, you've got to take responsibility and put the structure in place to help with that. That's where the problem is. It's not a lack of motivation. And then this is maybe the most harsh truth of where people struggle. A lot of people want great result. No, I would say everybody wants a great result. Everybody wants to, whether it's look the best, feel the best, whether it's, again, the goal is specific to you, right? Everyone wants the big result. A lot of people just aren't willing to do the work for the big result. That's the truth. If the second there's an inconvenience, right? If the second you're tired, you decide you're not going to the gym, please do not come to me and be like, oh, I'm annoyed that I didn't get any results. Nah, I think the phrase "you didn't want it enough" is generally said. It's spoken by losers, right? But there is a bit of truth to it. If the smallest inconvenience is going to stop you training, if the smallest inconvenience is going to mean you get a takeaway, come on, you've got to have more drive and more want. Otherwise, your perception of what you want to achieve and your perception of the work that is required, it's an understanding issue. The understanding of what is required has to change, okay? You know fat loss is difficult. I know fat loss is difficult. Anybody who's ever lost weight knows it's difficult. So understand that the work to get there sometimes is going to be difficult. And let's be honest, when I say difficult, I'm talking about you going to the gym when you're being tired and eating a healthy meal. It's not exactly like I've got a gun to your head. Sorry, those are a few tangents. But that's why this stuff, that's the areas that people struggle with. You don't struggle with, I don't know what to eat healthy. Yes, you do. I struggle for recipes. You've got Google, mate. That's not your struggle. It's just sometimes easier to tell yourself that's the struggle, because when you actually are faced with the reality of what is really going on, that's a bit of a harder thing to face directly, as opposed to being able to sit there and say, it's just the lack of high protein recipes I've got. Mate, if you've got lack of high protein recipes, go on TikTok, you find hundreds of them. Now, I am just going to clarify a few things, because there is still a lot of false information about nutrition online. Okay? We're not going to do a huge myth-busting episode, and in fact, one of the episodes coming up is a Q&A where I go into some nutrition questions a little bit more, but fat loss comes from calories in versus calories out, right? To make sure the calories in versus calories out is in balance, your protein is what's going to matter most. If you want to hit your protein, it's going to come down to making sure that you have a plan in place to actually make that happen. That's a huge one for so many people. If you plan, wait, when is this episode going to be out? Okay, I'm going to gamble. I'm going to tell you something. This is top secret. Not many people know. At the time of recording this, nobody knows this. I'm getting a dog. I'm so excited. And, oh my God, I've been waiting to just say that out loud for so long. I can't release this episode now till I've got him. His name is Malby. He's a yellow Labrador. I'm madly in love with him already. And Malby comes to live with me on the 28th of December. So this podcast is going to have to be out after that now. However, I have already started planning Malby's diet, Malby's training, Malby's sleep schedule, his toileting schedule. That dog has had so much time, effort and planning put into him already, because I love him more than anything in the world, and I just want him to have the happiest life in the world, because he's the best thing in the world. You deserve that same. Why do you not deserve the same as my dog? I'm sorry, I'm comparing you to a dog. I'm not comparing you to a dog, but my point is, I want my dog to get the best results. I want my dog to be the happiest. I want him to be so healthy. I want him to be able to exercise, to feel great, to sleep great, to have great energy levels. I just want him to be the perfect dog. It's not going to happen. It's not going to fluke it, right? The planning for him to do those things is in place. Now I have to make sure he sticks to the routine, but this is the same thing, right? When it comes to nutrition, Having a clear plan in place is going to make all the difference. If you're just winging it and you're like, I'm hoping for the best, how's that gone so far? It doesn't work, right? Consistency is the thing that matters most. If you're having to reset every Monday, the issue isn't, oh my God, again, people always say it, recipes, or I just don't know. That's not the issue. The issue is a lack of planning and a lack of structure, right? So with that in mind, when it comes to the mindset around these things, I'm going to explain some of the things that I try and enforce. Enforce is a harsh word. That I put in place with my clients. Sorry, just having a drink of water. That I put in place with my clients to ultimately help them deal with this stuff. Again, you'll notice, although this is the nutrition podcast, I'm not sat here talking to you about vegetables. You know that you need to be eating vegetables. But a huge one that I like to do with a lot of my clients, we take the drama out of food, okay? Here's the thing, right? You are going to have days that go off track. You're going to have days where you eat more calories. You're going to have the days where you say things like, I ruined it all. We need to take the drama out of that. Instead of saying, and this might sound really silly, right? But instead of you going, I fucked it, I've ruined it, use the term, I had more calories today. Can you notice the difference in that? It's a lot less dramatic, it's a lot less responsive, it's a lot calmer. The less extreme you make it sound, the easier it is to manage, right? The stories that you tell yourself matter, and if you're telling yourself, I fucked it because you had a pizza, well, that means that you literally are living off, or living in your head in this point where any sort of quote-unquote unhealthy decision is going to be fucked it, and that's just not the case, right? So trying to remove those sort of big statements around food is huge. And another one, the second thing, and do you know what, this happens with nearly everyone I work with. This happens in the early stages, right? And I want you to start doing this for yourself and start calling yourself out on this, right? If somebody this is a red flag, right? This is a massive red flag for fat loss or struggling with fat loss, right? If you're trying to lose weight and you come to me and you're like, oh, Andy, I had a great day today. Hit me calories, hit my protein. Andy, I was great. Not asked, mate. That is a red flag. If you are acting like that because you've had a good day, huge red flag, you're going to struggle with weight loss. And do you know why? It's not because I don't want you to have a day like that. Of course I do. But it's that if you put a day like that on a pedestal, like you're the king of the world or queen, whoever's involved, right? If you put a day like that on a pedestal, I guarantee you're also the person who says, I fucked it, I've ruined it, it's the end of the world. I say why, and you're like, I had a slice of pepperoni pizza, didn't I? All right, mate, slow down. Whoa, how have we got there? It's extremes, right? Just because you are aware that having a day where, again, you go over calories, you have more calories, whatever, you're obviously aware of a day like that might not be ideal for fat loss. But then you are happy to go crazy celebrating just one good day. That to me, I don't want that. Don't get me wrong, I want you to have good days. But I want you to, at the end of 7 days, go, yeah, that was all right. Good week, that. Solid. Yeah. Cool. Crack on. Next one. That's the way that I want you to treat your diet, your days, your fat loss. Not this emotional roller coaster where one day is good and you're like, oh my God, I'm the best thing in the world. I hit 100 grams of protein. No, you're an adult. You carry on, right? I know that might seem a bit harsh. I don't mean it to be that blunt. But my point is, the less emotional and less reactive you are on a day-to-day basis, and the more that you start to treat your weeks as a whole and just be like, yeah, sound, that was good, the buzz and the emotion can come, because that's where in 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 6 months, 1 year's time, you're going to look back on your year's work, and then you're going to get that buzz and your excitement, and then you're going to be like, oh my God, I've changed my life. I've lost 20 kilograms. I've lost 25 kilograms. I've ran my first half marathon. I'm in the gym every week now. That's how that happens. It doesn't happen from, oh my God, best day ever. I hit my calories today. It happens from those consistent weeks over time. Hang on, if you're watching on YouTube, lost my notes. I've gone off on a tangent there anyway, Anna. Where are we? All right, 2 more sort of mindset shifts that I like to encourage with my clients. The next one is responsibility over negotiation, right? So what I mean by that is, if you're giving it when it comes to eating healthy, I'll see how I get on this week. I'm gonna try really hard and hit my protein. Hopefully I'll hit my calories over the weekend. If those are the sort of phrases, that's negotiating with yourself. Hopefully, trying. I'll see. Well, I want more responsibility with your diet. I want to hear statements like, I'll hit my protein this week. Because really, you don't need to try and hit your protein. You're either going to hit it or you're not. Because I can tell you right now, today for instance, I will hit my protein. I'm not going to try, I just know that I will. Because I know my food choice is going to make me hit the amount that I need. It doesn't need to be a negotiation with, hopefully I'll get enough of my protein in. I know that my breakfast every day is 30 grams of protein. Before recording this podcast, I had a chicken salad that was, I think, 70 grams of protein probably with the amount of chicken that I use. That's 100 grams straight away. I'll have steak for my tea. That'll be 40 grams of protein. 140 grams of protein. I've just hit my protein for the day. I know I'm going to do it. I don't need to negotiate or try. Notice that language. I'm a big believer with language and fat loss. The things and the stories that you say and the way that you perceive things matter. If you're telling yourself, I'll try my best, I'm going to do this, you're telling yourself there's an option not to. Don't make it a negotiation with yourself, make it a responsibility. I will do this. I will. Again, you can use this away from fat loss too. Not, I'll try and go to the gym, I'm going to the gym. It does make a difference, that stuff. And then the big one, as you all know, and this is just a smaller one that I put into the notes, and it's your weekends. I have never had somebody where they're struggling with weight loss and it doesn't come down to the weekends. And I'm not saying not to go and enjoy your weekends, by all means do. But put it like this, right? This is what I say to people all the time. Monday to Friday, you can probably tell me exactly what your days look like. I assume let's say you wake up I'll give you mine, right? Wake up about 6, gym for 7, back home for 8, half 8, start work at 9, go for a walk at lunchtime, finish work about 4 or 5, depending what calls I've got. In the evening, I've either got jiu-jitsu or chilling and having my tea, and then I'll be in bed about 9, half 9, right? That's my day, Monday to Friday, doesn't change. Weekend, well, this Saturday, actually, I'm with family. Saturday night, I'm out with one of my mates. Don't know what I'm doing on Sunday. The following weekend, I am actually I'm going to be in Belfast. I'm staying at a mate's on Saturday night. Sunday, I've got to drive back. Don't know really what I'm doing that Sunday. I know the football's on the Sunday evening. The weekend that's just gone. What did I do the weekend just gone, actually? God, I can't remember. What did I do at the weekend? Oh my God, my mind has gone blank. See, I mean, this actually proves my point. Every single weekend will look different. Every single weekend will have less structure. So why do you plan for your Monday to Friday, but you wing your weekends when the weekends are the time when you're most out of sync and most out of routine? If you have a fat loss goal, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you do need to actually take that into consideration. I try and get clients to just on a Thursday, just look at the weekend, what's coming up. If you're eating out on Saturday, check the menu, see how many calories are in it, see what you need to do with your calories Saturday. Have you done a food shop so you've got food in, so you're not tempted to get takeaways? It's little things like that really do make a big difference, right? Now, that's leading into what I was going to do next anyway, which is I want to give some practical structures, basically. Practical structures, I can't speak. I've been recording for about an hour now. Not this episode, I did another episode before it. So my words are getting mixed up. I want to give you practical habits and practical things that you can actually do. Not just drink more water, by the way, you know about that. But things that actually work that I implement with clients. Number one, and this one's great, calorie ranges, right? Instead of having a strict number, say, I don't know, 1900, maybe you work within 1700 to 2100. All of a sudden, that range gives you much more flexibility within your day-to-day diet. I know I've just said plan your week in advance, and you should be planning your week in advance. But even just taking 5 minutes the night before, so this is pretty much how I sort of manage my nutrition, right? Sunday, without fail, is food shop. Sometimes I'll do that as a click and collect with Tesco and pick it up Monday morning. But Sunday I'm always doing my food shop, and he's basically planning my meals for the week. Okay. Then each evening, I basically take not even 5 minutes, because it doesn't take 5 minutes, to just pre-plan my next day, my day tomorrow. So although I've already got the food in, I'll still just know the evening before what the plan is for my nutrition, not even just my nutrition, but my training, everything for the next day. Even with my gym stuff, I'll pack my bag the night before. So make sure in the evenings, just having a couple of minutes just set aside for yourself to prep. And then, this is one that's a real positive for fat loss, to be honest, and a real easy win, is have reliable meals. Have things in place that you don't need to think about. So, for instance, my breakfast, I said it to you before, my breakfast is 30 grams of protein. It's because I know for a fact that my breakfast is 4 eggs, sourdough, about 10 grams of butter. That's 34 grams of protein off the top of my head. I have that every single day. That's why I know so quickly that is my the protein in my breakfast. Have repeatable meals. Now, I say I have that every day. I am a weirdo. I literally do mean every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Like, I don't even change that at the weekends. I don't expect you to do that. But you might have 2 breakfasts, 3 breakfasts that you know that you can switch in and out through the week, and you know the calories and protein of them all. It takes out decision fatigue, which is a huge impact on diet. And if you're not organised, and if you're just sort of winging day to day, every time you have to make a decision, your brain becomes a bit more fatigued by it. If you take the need for those decisions away because you have a repeatable meal structure, that fatigue no longer exists. And I think, sort of just to summarise that and fat loss overall, if you can't tell, there's a common theme here. It's being organised and planning. I can't stress how much of a difference that is. That is it. That is fat loss in a nutshell. If you consistently organise yourself and if you consistently plan, you will get results. The people who don't are the people who don't stick to their plan. And the people who, like I said at the start, will say the problem is I'm eating 1,200 calories and not losing weight, when actually you might need to dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, what's the cause? What's stopping me tracking consistently? And again, that's where you dig into, is it lack of organisation? Is it stress? Is it sleep? And all these different areas. Anyway, I've gone off on another tangent there. But the key thing my point I was trying to make then is planning and structure will be the difference when it comes to fat loss. So when I say back to basics, and when this episode is called Back to Basics, that's the basics. Be organised, plan ahead. You know what to do. Implementing it is how you need to do it, okay? Obviously, if you need help with any of this stuff, please do say. Just drop us a message. Always happy to answer questions. If you want to find out more about coaching, please do. If you watched it on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that jazz. If you're watching on Spotify, leave reviews, like, subscribe, all that jazz there too. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.